Has debate jargon become too much of a chore? Does every round you enter leave you wanting to know more? Well, look no further because one clap is the key. It's time for Professor Graham and Kevin's ABCs. Hello debaters, welcome back to another episode of Professor Graham's ABCs of Debate. I'm Professor Graham here with my pal Kevin, and today the word of the day is going to be uniqueness. So without further ado, let's be special and jump on into it. Uniqueness is a fairly simple concept to understand, so this one shouldn't be too long. The easiest way to talk about uniqueness is to look at disadvantages and contentions. Uniqueness is now the third term that we've covered that describes what the world looks like now. In context, we've talked about how contentions and disadvantages have uniqueness, because you need to describe what the world looks like before describing how either team changes that. So again, uniqueness is just another word that talks about the description of the status quo. Well, actually, yeah. When arguing uniqueness, you have a few different options on how to effectively attack your opponent's case. Let's use an economy scenario, for example. Your opponents argue that the economy is doing fine now. It's not doing good, it's not doing great, it exists in a sort of Goldilocks state. Your opponents then have options to choose from. They can do the obvious and say that the economy isn't doing well right now, citing inflation, wage stagnation, etc. to prove that the economy is doing terrible and your quest to fix it is futile. However, there's another sneakier option that you might be able to get away with also. Affectionately referred to as uniqueness overwhelms the link, this argument is usually a little tricky in its execution. Instead of arguing that the economy is doing poorly, you argue that the economy has never done better. You cite their evidence in combination with a ton of new evidence and analysis as to why the economy is doing really well. Now, your argument has become that the economy is doing so incredibly well that no matter what the AF does to improve it, there's already so much money floating around that it won't make solving their impacts any more likely. You're right, Kevin. In this example, the two aren't really that different from each other, but let's take an elections DA and investigate that instead. The traditional setup for these DAs are that one candidate will win, which is a good thing, but your AF is perceived as being bad for the person who we want to be elected, which means somebody else gets voted into office, which causes something bad to happen. Take 2020, for example. There were elections DAs about Trump versus Biden. The uniqueness of that DA was that Biden was set to win. This setup here is different because we're not talking about a Goldilocks scenario anymore where it could have gone either way. The negative has advanced that Biden would have won the election. Again, you have two options. Either say that their sources are wrong and Trump was more likely to win, or you could have agreed with the negative, doubled down, and said that there's literally a 0% chance Biden loses. The uniqueness of Biden decimating Trump in the election overwhelms any chance that the link to the DA would cause the impacts. Uniqueness isn't very complicated. In fact, there are quite a few cool tricks that you can do with it. Anything to add, Kevin? Clever? Dude, I don't even know her, man. Hey, thanks again for watching today's episode of Professor Graham's ABCs of Debate. As always, I'm Professor Graham, and that's my pal Kevin. Yeah, if you ever need any help with debate stuff at all, my email should be right up here. Just make sure you CC your coach. I'll get back to you as soon as I possibly can with any debate tips that you might need. I'll drop that knowledge on you. Bam. Thanks for watching. It's been a pleasure. See y'all later.